Today we're doing 7.3 and we are going to talk about analyzing units, and we're going to keep in mind the concept of rates, unit rates, and then make sure you have that piece of paper, the conversion chart that I gave you in class on Friday, out with you as you're doing this. Okay, so we need to get two definitions down. The first one is dimensional analysis, which is another name for unit analysis. And this is just a fancy way of saying to convert from one unit to another unit. So example, when you go from inches to feet, that is dimensional. The second definition is conversion factors, and this is what you use in dimensional analysis. So this is when you're actually multiplying one or more ratios of equal quantities. So for example, we could put this inches and feet into a ratio where 1 foot equals 12 inches. You can also write this as 12 inches over 1 foot. So it's going to depend on the information you're giving and what you're asking to solve for. We're going to practice finding conversion factors, so you need to have that sheet out next to you. So your first example is we want to go from quarts to gallons. So what you're always going to do is you're going to take whatever that first unit is. So if we're given quarts, we're going to say we're going to multiply that by a ratio. And we know that we need to have quarts and gallons in this ratio. So what you need to do is on that conversion chart, see if you can find what it equals. So we know that there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So we want quarts, that unit, to cancel out. So we're always going to put quarts in the denominator and our new, or whatever unit we want, into the numerator. So that's why quarts goes in the denominator and gallons goes in the numerator, because you can think of this as over 1. And now we can fill in the numbers, 1 gallon to 4 quarts. So let's try another one. Let's try going from meters to centimeters. So again, you're going to start off with what you know, which is meters, so we can represent that with an M. And we're going to multiply that by a ratio. Now, since we want to go from meters to centimeters, we're going to put centimeters in our numerator and meters in our denominator. Now, using that chart again that I gave you in class, see if you can find where you see centimeters equals meters or meters equals centimeters. What you should have found is that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So now all we need to do is fill in our numbers. Let's practice going between units. So let's try this example first. It says the average American eats 23 pounds of pizza per year. Find the number of ounces of pizza the average American eats per year. So let's start with what we know. Okay, American eats 23 pounds of pizza per year. Where you see that per year, you're thinking unit rate. So we can do 23 pounds over 1 year. That's where we're going to start. And it wants us to go from pounds to ounces. So using your conversion chart, how many ounces are in a pound? You should have found that there are 16 ounces to 1 pound. So just like we practiced, we're going to multiply. We want ounces, so we need to put that on the top and pounds on the bottom. So now let's plug in our numbers. We know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So now all we do is have to multiply across. So if we look here, 23 times 16 is 368 over 1 times 1, which is 1. Now, remember when we had like 5 over 2 times 7 over 15, and we could look across and we could cancel these out? That's the same thing with unit. If you notice here, we have pounds here and pounds here. those are going to cancel out. So the unit that's left on in the numerator is ounces, and year is still in the bottom, which is what the question wanted to know, which is how many ounces the average American eats in per year. So our answer is 368 ounces in 1 year. All right, let's try another one. So this one says the average American uses 580 pounds of paper per year. Find the number of pounds of paper the average American uses per month. So let's start with what we know. We know that they use 580 pounds in 1 year. Okay, now they want us to know how many pounds, so that pounds is going to be staying, this unit, per month. So that means we need to change from years to month. So let's think about what you know. There are 12 months in 1 year. So we're always going to multiply, and we need to make that second ratio. See if you can figure out where these two numbers are going to go in the ratio. So you should have said, well, 1 year goes in my numerator because that's what we're going to need to cancel out. And 12 months goes in the denominator. So now we can look across. So let's multiply our numerator to get 580 over 1 times 12, which is 12. Now notice our units. We have a year on top and on the bottom, so that cancels out. So you get 580 pounds in 12 months, but if we're looking at per, we want just 1. So we're going to divide the top and the bottom by 12, and you end up getting 48.3 pounds per month. That is your answer. All right, we're going to try this last example together, and if you want to start trying to piece it together and compare your answer to mine, that's totally fine. But it says a car traveled 60 miles on a road in 2 hours. How many feet per second was the car traveling? So see if you can create your first ratio. You should have done 60 miles over 2 hours. Now if you look here, we can simplify this. We can take a 2 out of the top and bottom. So this is actually 30 miles in 1 hour. And it's asking us how many feet per second. And if you notice here, we don't have either of those units. So we need to change both of these units. So let's start. It doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm going to start with miles because it's in the numerator. So using that conversion chart, find how many feet and miles, and what is that conversion? So you should have found that there's, in 1 mile, there are 5,280 feet. So if I make this second ratio, remember I want my units to be top and bottom. So that means miles needs to be in the denominator and feet is in the numerator. So we know that there's 1 mile and 5,280 feet. All right. We also are going from hours to seconds. So if you didn't know, there in 1 hour, there is 3,600 seconds. So see if you can create the third ratio. Remember, your clue is we need to have the numerator, the unit in the numerator and in the denominator. So here I see that I have hours in the denominator, which means that my hour for this ratio needs to be in the numerator. And then 3,600 seconds can go in the denominator. Now here's the fun part. We can look at this and we can say, well, I have miles in my numerator and in the denominator. We can cross those out. They go away. Just like how we have a 1 in the numerator and a 1 in the denominator, we could cross those out too. They cancel each other out. What's the other unit that you could cross out? Well, you should have seen that there's hours in the numerator and in the denominator, so we can cross those out. If you notice, the only unit left are feet and seconds, which is what they want us to find. So we're going to have a ratio of feet over seconds. So all we have to do is multiply 30 and 5,280, and you get 158,400 feet. And then our denominator is just 3,600. But because it says the word per, that means per one. So you need to divide 3,600 by top and bottom. And you end up getting 44 feet in 1 second. That is your answer. I know that this is a difficult concept, but I want you to try the exit slip. Use the conversion chart to help you. We're going to go over it on Monday and on Tuesday. So you can do the exit slip now.